Here we go. Cue the music. Back for another week of the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark. Fresh off of a bye week, and we hope that we do a better job than that disjointed mess that I saw yesterday at Lincoln Financial Field. Got a lot of comments, got a big prediction for everybody, and we've got a lot to cover. It's going to be a great show. Let me introduce my partner, the longtime Eagles beat writer for NJ.com and the Trenton Times, is Mark Eckel. I'm ex-Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia Stars tight end Ken Dunek, and we're joined by a special guest today who I'm going to introduce in 1 minute. Mark, before we jump into the game, let me get into some housekeeping issues. First of all, we're recording this podcast at SuiteRecording Studios in Mount Laurel. Go to SuiteRecording.com, ask for Joe Gangemi, and if you're going to do a podcast, this is a great place to do it. We're also sponsored by Gateway Mortgage. Our good friend Chris Wilhelm has programs for everyone, whether it's a refi, whether it's a first-time purchase. Call Chris at Gateway Mortgage, 856-810-1222. That's 856-810-1222. And I want to remind everybody that there's going to be an Eagles cruise on April 12th to the 19th, leaving from Tampa, going to a lot of exotic locations. I know Vince Papala will be on. I know Sean Landetta would be on. Might not be too late for our special guest to get on that cruise, but if you're interested, Joe will flash the screen, and you'll have that information. Mention Dunek, D-U-N-E-K, and you get $300 off your cabin. So we hope to see you there. And then finally, the party of the year in Philadelphia, the JerseyMan and PhillyMan Unmasking Gala, will be November 7th at Ballroom at the Ben. Last year, we had almost 500 people at that location, and we raised $18,000 for 6 deserving charities. So if you can make it, contact me, Ken, at JerseyManMagazine.com, or go to our website, JerseyManMagazine.com, and you'll get all that information. So we're at this point, going to introduce our special guest, Mark. And this is a guy that I have known. It's hard to believe. I've known this guy for 44 years.
Yikes.
When we played together on the 1980 Philadelphia Eagles, and then we had a great time playing for the Philadelphia Stars, and he went on to become a coach and an exalted coach, really, with all the success that he had. I'm going to introduce at this point, Mark, our good friend, linebacker John Bunting. John, how are you, my friend?
It's great to be with you. Back down here in sunny Florida, we weathered the storms. As a matter of fact, I think we were driving through one storm on the way back on Sunday, the 29th, where the Eagles were playing the Bucks. And I think the Bucks scored on every single drive in the first half.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So they played better yesterday.
They did play better, but coming off of a bye against one of the worst teams in the NFL, I expected more. Mark, did you get a chance to see any of what we're talking about?
I saw too much.
You saw too much.
I mean, Ken, listen, I thought former players always, you guys lied to the press all the time. Players always tell us, hey, we won. That's all that matters. We won. And to win. It's hard to win in this league, and we got to win. And no, but I mean, listen. The Eagles are, like you said, Ken. You said one of the worst. You're being nice. I think they're the worst. I think Cleveland's the worst team in the league.
Certainly, maybe one of the worst offenses, if not the worst, and probably the worst quarterback in the league right now.
I don't know what happened to him, but I do know.
Well, we do know. We can't talk about it.
But the Browns were playing now. Again, this is like a gambling angle, but it's a good one. The Eagles are coming off a bye. They're home. They're as healthy as they've been all season. They had nobody on the injury report. Not one player was listed on the injury report. So they're in perfect shape. They're playing a Browns team that A, has some guys out, B, playing their third straight road game. This was Cleveland's third straight road game. This should have been 31-3.
And they lose their center in the first series of downs.
Yeah. I mean, this should have been a blowout. I mean, a win is still a win. It's hard to – I understand it's hard. A win's a win. But that was not a kind of win that you could be taking a lot of solace out of that.
John, did you get access to watch the game in its entirety down there in Florida?
I have the opportunity to go over to our tiebreaker bar and snack room and watch games. Believe it or not, this beautiful, stellar Windermere complex does not allow NFL ticket. We can't purchase it, so we have to go
You,
someplace else to watch.
you might have to move. I mean,
Calls for it. Anyway, so I watched the first half over there, and was I impressed? No. Is it better than I think it's been? Particularly after listening to what I listened to on the way down from Philly to Florida. Oh my God, when they got smoked by the Bucks, just crushed. It seemed like every single possession the Bucks went down and scored. So defensively, they still got problems, but I think they got a little bit better. And you and I both know the defensive coordinator for the Eagles.
Long time,
very,
Vic Fangio.
very good football coach, Vic Fangio, who we worked with the Stars. I just, I think they got a little bit better yesterday. Yeah, the quarterback for Cleveland is horrible, not very good. They got to get better stopping the run. They got to get better, getting off on third down. The defense does.
John, you and I were involved in 2 championship teams, and there's a difference between championship energy and just winning energy. And I thought, for the most part, the Eagles don't show championship energy. I'll tell you who does. Brandon Graham, the oldest guy on the team, played his 200th game yesterday for the Philadelphia Eagles. He brings championship energy every time he hits the field. Saquon Barkley, I think, brings championship energy. Zach Bond made a really bonehead play when he roughed the passer in that game, but he's playing with a high motor. Cooper DeJean, the new Eagles defensive back who got his first start at the slot corner yesterday, shows championship energy. And I think at times Jalen Hurts shows championship energy. I've got some issues with him panicking in the pocket and bailing out early, but for the most part, he plays hard. Other than that, and Mark, you may want to comment on this first, I don't see a championship level football team, and I'm not sure this, I'm not sure this group is capable of that. What is your opinion?
Oh, I could add, I don't know. I could add a few more players that I think you left out. I think Dallas Goedert shows.
Yes, I would agree. But he was out early yesterday.
Well, he got hurt.
We
Yeah,
didn't see much of him yesterday.
I'm going to ask both of you guys because you both played together for the Eagles. You say you played for the Eagles and the Stars. You guys predate me. I'm old, but you guys even predate me. But I didn't know Dick Vermeil. He was done by the time I started covering. He had retired. I covered his assistant, Marion Campbell. And then Jim Mara, we've crossed paths at times when he was with the Colts and the Saints, but never actually covered him on a regular basis. You talk about bringing championship energy or bringing Nick Sirianni is not Dick Vermeil. Nick Sirianni is not Jim Mara.
Well,
Dick Vermeil would not. I don't think Dick Vermeil was ever yelling at fans after a game.
Well, listen,
or yelling at players on the other team during. He might yell at you guys during the game, but he wasn't mouthing off to the other team's players during the game. Yeah. I don't think more. I mean, you guys tell me. You guys played for both of those guys that I mentioned, and I've covered a bunch of Andy Reid, Buddy Ryan, Doug Peterson, whoever, Chip Kelly. I mean, I've never seen a guy like this coach in the NFL.
John, go ahead and comment on that because I've got some pretty important comments to make about Nick Sirianni here coming up.
Well, Ken, I sent you a text message late in the day yesterday, and it was a name, Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
OC,
what did he roll out yesterday? Are you kidding me? I mean, what a package.
That head football coach for the Detroit Lions, he's got them going.
Oh, yeah.
And that team plays with that type of energy that you want.
Exactly.
Winning energy. I mean, down after down after down. That's what they do. And they're on a roll. And we're still early in the season. I haven't seen that with the Eagles in 2-3 years. And it does all start at the top. It starts with the head football coach. And I don't know Sirianni at all to know how he feels and how he treats the players and how he gets the players to play at a high level. So I really can't say much about him, but it was a perfect time for the Eagles to come back off the bye week, getting the two receivers back
at home.
getting Lane Johnson back. You know, sometimes playing at home in Philadelphia is not an advantage.
Well,
because
listen,
I heard
if you play with energy, it's an advantage. If you're lethargic and screw up, it's not.
I heard those subtle boos at halftime, and that sits in a head coach's craw, and it shouldn't. You got to be stronger than that.
You have to be professional. Here's my prediction, guys. And I don't like saying this because I've met Nick Sirianni on several occasions. He's a very nice man, and I'm rooting for him.
This isn't about him as a person.
No, I know. But here is my prediction. He does not coach the Philadelphia Eagles next year. And I'm going to tell you the reasons why I think that's true. Number one, in the first half yesterday, the Eagles, who have the best short yardage play in the history of the game,
no doubt,
on 3rd and 1 near the end of the first half, they drop Jalen Hurts back. He gets sacked. Now they have to try a 57-yard field goal, which gets blocked and run back for a touchdown. Could have been a 14-point swing. That, to me, is an egregious error. Here's another one. At the end of the game, inside the 2-minute warning, the Browns have one timeout left. The Eagles have first down. They throw a bomb to Brown, who they complete it, luckily, at the 5-yard line. If that thing gets picked and run back all the way, I'm not sure Sirianni makes it out of the locker room after the game as the head coach of the Eagles. And then yelling at the home fans. Listen, I get it. You know, no one likes to be booed. No one likes to be yelled at. It's part of the job, and that's why you get paid the big bucks. You got to be a professional. John, you know, you were under intense pressure at North Carolina. I'm sure you heard some negative comments. You didn't turn around and yell at the fans over there.
Never.
I mean, that's just something that a head coach. And then, in perfect Eagles fashion, they roll him out at the press conference and they bring his kids to sit with him, so the reporters feel bad about asking him these tough questions. I just thought that was comical. But you guys can go ahead and comment on what I just said.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, John, you played, like I said, you played, and then you were assistant coach under Vermeil.
I was
the
an
Rams,
assistant coach for the Stars, Philadelphia Stars, the last year of the USFL. And then I started coaching in college. I coached at Glassboro State, now Rowan University. And then I got an opportunity to go out to Kansas City with Carl Peterson, coached 5 years there, coached 3 years with Coach Vermeil in St. Louis. And believe me, we were booed a lot in St. Louis those first 2 years. And I really didn't think we'd make it to the third year, but we did. And we turned around and won a Super Bowl. So you just don't know sometimes. Coached 1 year with the Saints. And then I got the head job at North Carolina. And that was difficult. It's the most difficult job I've ever had. I mean, recruiting is a bear at Division I. And you get your heart torn out every single signing day that you have. And then you got to defend what you did. And it's really scrutinized, particularly, I think, at UNC. I love that I got that opportunity, but it was a very, very difficult job.
Mac Brown's hearing some boos now at North Carolina.
Yeah, he is. I watched that game. That was horrible. They've lost 4 in a row. Here's my take about the Eagles right now, in particular about the quarterback, because I'm still not sure how good he is. I'm wondering how much better he can get over the remainder of the season with the 2 receivers back, practicing a lot, get the timing back. He has all the throws. Sometimes you just wonder what's going on in that noggin of his.
Well, my opinion is that he, when he goes through his progressions, he panics and he doesn't step up in the pocket, and it's an immediate bail right. Now, he's athletic enough to get away with it because he's got great skills. He's got a great motor, so he can avoid the rush. And actually, I thought he played pretty good yesterday, to be honest. There was at one point where he escaped the rush and threw a dart to A.J. Brown. That was a fantastic play. So I think Hurts has the talent to do it, but I just think that he's got to be coached to relax and go through the progressions and step up in the pocket rather than bailing out one way or another all the time.
Well, my take on Hurts is he's been in the league, what now, 4 years, 5 years? What is it? But he's had a different coordinator every year. basically.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in, he has Doug Peters and Press Taylor. Then they get fired. Then they bring in Sirianni, and it's Sirianni and Stryken, and things went well, right? They go to the Super Bowl. Then Stryken goes, and then they bring in they promote his buddy Johnson, Brian Johnson. Now he goes. Now he has Kellen Moore. This guy's been coach. I mean, you guys played, so you know more than I do. But I just from cover. I mean, I've been around teams long enough. When there's that much change, and some of us, hey, listen, Stryken got a head coaching job, but he can't deny him that. But just that much going on. And again, I'm going to rip Sirianni again here, but Jalen Hurts in college, just like I said to the two of you, you played for Vermeil and Mara. This guy played for Nick Saban and Lincoln Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Luckily, Riley might not be a great head coach, but he's a great quarterback coach, great offensive mind. And Nick Saban might be the greatest of all time. So now he's playing for this guy who he's probably shaking his head saying, I don't think this is right. And you don't want to openly question your head coach, maybe, but I think he is a little bit. I don't envy what Jalen Hurts is going through, because I think he could be very, very good. I think he could be a top 5 quarterback in the league under the right circumstances. He just doesn't have the right circumstances.
And I agree with that. And that's why I think the rest of this season is really critical for the Philadelphia Eagles and also for him. He's got the receivers back. The running game is up and down. He's got 2 good runners, and they also can catch the football.
Mm-hmm.
Barkley is a really good football player. I mean, they didn't run very well yesterday, but I mean, hey, they had some receivers back. Hey, you take what the defense gives you, and he did well. Can he get better over the rest of the season? Can the defense play well against a good quarterback? Yeah, the guy they played against yesterday is not very good.
So let's talk about what happened during the game. Eagles had some injuries. Jordan Mailata looks like he's dinged up pretty good. He was walking off the field with crutches after the game yesterday, a lower leg injury. We'll find out more about that. Dallas Goedert with a hamstring, and as you know, John, I've had him. Hamstrings can be tricky, and they can last for weeks. Darius Slay, I did not. I know he left the game early. I did not see an injury report on Slay. Mark, did you?
Ankle. I think it was ankle.
Okay, so hopefully that'll be short term. And then Isaiah Rodgers got knocked out of the game, but then came back late in the game yesterday. So I think the Mailata thing is the most serious as far as the Eagles are concerned, right?
Well, it's the most serious and the most important. I mean, I hate to take any away from
a blind side.
Yeah, he's your left tackle. Now what do you do there? I guess Fred Johnson is the next in line. I would assume he's untested.
He came in late yesterday. I don't know a lot about Fred Johnson. Well, I know he's pretty big.
Yeah, but I mean that's a big drop off from a guy that was
But Lane Johnson is back, and he played the entire game, and he's healthy today.
Yes.
I think, right? Good.
Yes.
The Cleveland Browns had some pretty good defensive ends.
Oh, Myles Garrett, great.
Oh yeah,
I love Myles Garrett.
I mean, how about the block? How about the blocked field goal? How athletic is him? Hey, he jumped off of 2 feet. He jumped over 2 offensive linemen and blocked the field goal. That's some crazy athleticism right there. By the way, that was returned.
It shouldn't have been a 57-yard field.
No, of course not. And it was returned by Rodney McLeod, who had a great homecoming coming back to play against the Eagles. He led the team with 8 tackles. He made a nice breakup on a pass, and of course, he recovered the blocked field goal for a touchdown. So Rodney McLeod was kind of thumbing his nose at Lurie's box, I think, on the way as he was going through that. We'll go through the numbers very quickly. Hurts again, 16 for 25, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Neither one of these teams turned the ball over, and as far as the Eagles are concerned, they've lost their turnover battle in the recent weeks. And John, as a head coach, you can talk about stats all you want, but there's really only one that matters the most, and that's turnovers, right?
There is no doubt about turnovers impact the game more than anything else. And, put the ball on the ground, fumbling, that's one thing. Big hits, carrying the ball loose, that's another thing. But throwing interceptions, that will kill your team. It kills drives. It kills a time on the field. It's just the worst. So, I don't know where Hurts stands in terms of interceptions this year, but he didn't have any yesterday.
He didn't, but he has turned over.
That was the one bright spot I thought, Ken. Eagles did not. They had been turning the ball over, and they didn't.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I thought it was. There was a few bright spots. The lack of turnovers by the Eagles, of course. The defense had 5 sacks. Now, interestingly, they blitzed more than I've seen them blitz all year. Several safety blitzes, and they did not let up an offensive touchdown, even though the Browns are an anemic offensive team. Anytime you hold an NFL team to no touchdowns, I think that's something to be proud of. It looked like. We actually had who's the guy that we signed from the Jets, Mark? Is it Bryce Huff? I heard his name a couple times yesterday, which is the first time I've heard it all year. But what do you want for $50 million, right? We heard his name. Jalen Carter with a nice sack, and then Sweat and Smith, they all contributed defensively. Nakobe Dean had 12 tackles. He misses a lot of tackles, but but at least he's active back there. Zach Bond, again, I thought played good. But so, if there is a bright spot, is that the defense showed up yesterday, and you can only play who you're playing. You can only play who's on the schedule, and they did a pretty good job yesterday.
Well, the defense could have caused a few turnovers. That would have been nice.
Yes, that's true. Way to look on the dark side, Mark.
We're talking turnovers. It was great they didn't have any, but they're playing a team that, like you said, the offense isn't very good. The quarterback's not very good. Maybe you could have picked off a couple passes. Maybe you could have caused a few fumbles. I don't know.
Yeah,
would have made it a little easier.
Let's talk. We've got a few minutes left. Let's talk about what happened in the NFC East yesterday. There's almost nothing better than the Eagles win coupled by a Dallas loss. Wouldn't you guys agree with that?
I love that.
It's just like that's like the daily double, or no, it's more like a perfecta actually. If you're into horse racing, I mean, I just love that. They got blown out by Detroit. The Commanders got beat at Baltimore, and the Giants got beat last night against Cincinnati. Now, how about the Giants only scoring 7? The Eagles have the Giants at the Giants next week, but the Giants only score 7 points against an anemic Cincinnati defense at home. There's got to be some real concerns there, John, don't you think?
Struggles at quarterback still. There is. And offensive line, I think the Eagles' offensive line is playing pretty well right now. I think the Giants' offensive line is terrible.
Yeah.
Really do.
So they let go of Saquon Barkley, and they don't get any offensive linemen, and they expect Daniel Jones to be the savior. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, they're not good. They're not good at all. They were missing the one kid. Their one bright spot this year has been their first round pick, Malik Neighbors. The wide receiver. He's
been out the last couple of weeks.
He was out, but they had no shot in that game. Washington's a team you got to worry about. They lost. Baltimore's it's not like
Baltimore's the real deal. Washington has a good defense, and that quarterback is really an athletic marvel. Every time I see him, I'm more and more impressed.
I like Dan Quinn, by the way.
I do too.
I do as well.
Very good hire.
Yes.
He gets ripped for blowing that Super Bowl. I mean, hey, listen, he got Atlanta to the Super Bowl. It's not like the Falcons go to the Super Bowl every year.
He's a good football coach.
I agree. I like Dan Quinn. I thought that was a very good hire by Washington.
So let me ask you, what do you think? I'll ask you for 2 predictions. What do you think is going to happen next week when the Eagles play at the Giants? And then what do you think the future holds? Do the Eagles win this division? And if not, who wins the division? Mark, I'll start with you.
Oh, they'll beat the Giants. The Giants are awful. I mean, I shouldn't say, God, Cleveland's awful. But no, they'll beat the Giants. Barkley's going to be fired up, right?
Oh, yeah.
Give Barkley the ball 30 times.
Yeah.
Just feed him the ball.
Yeah. Hey, if you're into this, bet the over on his carries and rushing yardage and everything.
Touchdowns and everything. Yeah. If you're into the same game, I don't know. I don't do that stuff. But, yeah, do all that. Barkley's going to kill the Giants by himself. Yeah, they'll beat the Giants. Will they win a division? I thought they would easily. I thought the Cowboys would have some problems, and I was right. I thought the Giants stunk. I knew Washington was getting better. I wrote that in JerseyMan. Right. That was one of the teams I said better than you think. I didn't think they were going to be this good. So I think the Eagles will make the playoffs. How about that? If they don't win the division, I think they'll be a wild card. I think Washington and the Eagles might both come out of that division to make the playoffs.
Great, John.
Well, I am going to present you with that. I think somewhat unknown fact. It appears that the Eagles, for the first time in their history, have not scored points in the first quarter.
Right. They're the only team in the NFL not to do it this year.
They got to.
Yeah.
They got to start better. Huh?
Listen, by the way, the I'll fix it thing is getting old with me. Nick, every day you didn't score again. Oh, you guys put too much emphasis on it. We'll fix it. Well, you didn't fix it. That's why we're asking a question. You didn't fix it. So fix it next week. We won't answer the question, right?
Right. We're going to stop hearing the question. Score in the first quarter.
Well, I played for one team and coached for another that scored almost every single time they opened the game. That was Philadelphia Stars.
Yep.
And we had a quarterback named Chuck Lucina.
Yep.
Was he the greatest quarterback of all time? No, but he was efficient. And we had a run game, and we had an offensive line. We had a couple tight ends. We could play football and score. I mean, I'm a defensive guy. I just marveled at it. And then I got to St. Louis when we got Kurt Warner that last year, the year that I thought we were going to get fired. But we get a third chance, and we go to the Super Bowl and win it with Kurt Warner. I mean, they scored every single time on the first possession. And a tremendous boost to the offense and to the defense and to the whole team. It just makes you feel good, you know?
Yes, it does. And you mentioned Chuck Fusina, one of my best friends. And Chuck was the greatest competitor I've ever seen in any sport. Got the most out of his ability, smart as a whip. He could, find the open receiver, had enough arm strength to get it there, and just a great game manager, which I think is overlooked a lot of times with quarterbacks. I've said this on this podcast before. The best arm I've ever seen in my lifetime is Jeff George, and he was a knucklehead as a quarterback. So,
yes.
And John, what do you think about the Eagles' chances in the division? Do you think they wind up winning the East, and if not, who?
Well, we know the one division with Minnesota and Detroit and Green Bay.
Best division of football. I
think this division. I'm real curious about the Commanders to see how good they are when they play the Eagles. I don't know where that is on the schedule, but I'll be looking forward to that game. I think the winner of that game could take the division.
Okay, great. And we're going to be back next week with another edition of the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark. I want to thank our guest, John Bunting. John, you're living the good life, man. You're in Maine in the summer and Florida in the winter. A lot of guys would like to trade places with you. And I got to point out, he dressed for the occasion. He's got the green vet shirt right there. Show the people your shirt. That's beautiful, isn't it? That's beautiful. I asked John before the podcast, what was the saddest day when they imploded the vet or Dobbs closed down? And if they did close down, I thought it was Downey's, but it turned out to be Dobbs. But anyway, thank you, John, for joining us. Everybody, we're going to be back next week with another edition of the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark. For Mark Eckel, this is Ken Dunek. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.